Hello, my Bill 5000 Nation. How's everyone doing today? Hopefully, everyone's having a great day. If not, I hope it gets better from here. We are back with another lazy masquerade. This one is titled Disturbing Cases with Chilling Evidence. Alright, I'm excited for this one. Let's go ahead and get into today's story. Go ahead, turn them lights down low, put on something comfy, cup up with someone special. Let's get disturbed. Alright, let's get into it.
Born in New York and raised in Florida, real estate agent Sasha Samsadin was known as the Cupid of apartment hunting.
Hey guys, I'm Sasha from 407apartments.com, and I'm also this year's AAGO Education Chair.
Okay.
Fun, friendly, and a consummate professional, Sasha was a well-respected member of her local community who had helped countless people find a place to call home. As for her own digs, Sasha lived in downtown Orlando, in an apartment block ironically named Uptown Place. It was a secure building, with numerous CCTV cameras, a security guard, and digital key codes for each individual apartment.
Damn.
On the evening of October 16th,
Sounds like a nice little apartment complex, bro.
2015,
Apartment building? Is that apartment building?
a then 27-year-old Sasha went on a night out with friends, all of them decked out in purple shirts, celebrating their favourite football team's win that day. The group ended up at a nightclub called Attic, where they drank and danced the night away. At approximately 12:30 AM on October 17th, Sasha said goodbye to her pals and departed from the venue alone. One of her friends, Anthony Roper, had made breakfast plans with Sasha for later that morning, and so figured that he would see her again very soon. However, Sasha never showed up for breakfast.
Maybe she had a hangover. Maybe she didn't like where he was eating breakfast.
Thinking that was out of character, Anthony began calling and messaging Sasha to see where she was. She didn't answer, which again was unlike her.
It's very out of the ordinary to not hear from her because Sasha is very, very active on social media, text messaging and everything. So I reached out to her closer friends. Nobody else had heard from her.
Concerned for her well-being, Anthony and two other friends went to Sasha's apartment later that day. The trio knocked on Sasha's door. When she didn't open it, Anthony called the police.
Hi, I need to fill out a missing persons report. We went to her apartment to go check. She's there, and she's on.
And what is her first name?
Her first name is Sasha.
Officers arrived to conduct a wellness check at 8 PM that evening. They noted that there wasn't any sign of a forced entry, but upon gaining access to Sasha's apartment, they were immediately hit by the smell of bleach.
Oh, damn.
It didn't take long for them to find Sasha's lifeless body in the bedroom, wrapped up in her comforter. The clothes covering her torso had been torn open. Her necklace was caught in her hair. The bottom half of her body was bare. The coroner determined that she had sustained injuries to the head and arms, but had ultimately been strangled until all of the life in her was snuffed out.
Oh my god.
Whoever had taken Sasha's life, they were almost certainly male, made obvious by the fact that they had left the toilet seat up. But despite having doused half the apartment with bleach in an attempt to destroy any physical evidence that he had left behind, this unknown killer had made several huge mistakes. On that very same toilet seat lid, detectives found two fingerprints which didn't belong to Sasha or anyone close to her. The perpetrator had also left behind a shoe imprint next to her bed, and his DNA was found on Sasha's body. Unfortunately, it didn't match with anyone on their system. Investigators began to question whether Sasha had met someone that night and invited them over. They turned their attention to the many CCTV cameras between Attic and Sasha's condominium, and despite it having been a very busy night in downtown Orlando, they were able to identify her and track her movements. Curiously, despite leaving the venue alone, Sasha was caught on camera walking with two other females. After an appeal, this duo would come forward. As it would turn out, these women had spotted Sasha stumbling home by herself, and, worried about her, offered to get a taxi with her and drop her back home. Sasha took them up on their offer. The pair then watched as she walked up to her condominium. The building's security guard, a man named Stephen Duxbury, denied her entrance to the building since apparently he didn't recognize her. But according to these women, another resident entering the building vouched for her and led her inside. Following this, the authorities questioned that same security guard, Stephen Duxbury.
Okay. He looks shit.
According to him, after finally letting her into the building, Stephen later found Sasha trying and failing to enter her apartment. She was apparently so intoxicated that she couldn't remember the access code. She asked Stephen to walk her to a car outside so that she could get her backup key. However, before they got there, Sasha remembered the code and ran back to her door.
We went out and we didn't even go to any car because maybe 5 steps out. She's like, wait, I think I remember the code now. And then bring her back to the thing. She starts trying to punch in codes again. It's still not working. At this point, I'm like, I gotta keep doing my job. I'm just gonna go do another sweep. And if I come back and you're still not in your apartment, we're gonna have to figure out how to deal with the situation.
According to Stephen, as Sasha went to input her code, he did a sweep of the apartment. When he returned, Sasha was no longer there, and he assumed that she had finally gotten inside.
Yeah.
Stephen claimed that he saw Sasha again that night, walking down a hallway, this time chatting with a man he had never seen before. That unknown man quickly became the investigators' prime suspect.
Who is he?
Next, detectives looked at Sasha's
There's cameras all through this fucking building. Who the fuck was it? I want to see his face.
phone history, and learned that the last message she had ever sent before her slaying was to an ex-boyfriend named Ben.
Oh,
The
Ben.
two of them had been texting each other throughout
What'd
that
you
night,
do?
and Ben had asked Sasha if she'd like to meet him at a party. At 5:12 AM, however, Sasha sent him a text which simply read, Ben. This was the last message
Ben?
that she ever sent.
Ben what? Ben 10?
Ben was tracked down and questioned, but after voluntarily giving up a DNA sample and giving the authorities a concrete alibi, he was ruled out as a potential suspect. Eventually, the authorities were able to get their hands on Uptown Place's security recordings from the night of Sasha's demise.
This is
That
crazy,
footage
y'all.
would prove to be extremely revealing.
Oh, fuck.
At 1:46 AM, Sasha was seen entering the building, followed by the resident who let her in. This man follows Sasha and asks if she's okay. She was then seen stumbling up the stairs and disappeared from the camera's view for approximately 20 minutes. At 2:06 AM, she was again caught on camera, now running up another flight of stairs. This time pursued by the building's security guard, Stephen Duxbury. At 2:25 AM, he and Sasha were filmed walking together towards the building's parking lot, just as Stephen had told the investigators earlier.
Okay.
They're both seen re-entering the building after Sasha remembered her entrance code. So far, so innocent. However, they quickly realized that there wasn't any footage of Sasha walking down the hallways with an unknown male, as Stephen had told them. Here's where things get dark.
You
At
fucking piece of
5:13
shit.
AM, at almost exactly the same time Sasha sent her final ever message, security guard Stephen was caught moving in the direction of Sasha's apartment. At 6:36 AM, he was again seen exiting the building, this time carrying 2 trash bags, which he then placed in his car outside. At 6:39 AM, he clocked off from work and left the scene. Finding all that suspicious, detectives took a closer look and realized that the type of trash bag Stephen was carrying were the exact same type that Sasha kept in her apartment.
Oh,
Believing that he may have been removing evidence from the scene,
you motherfucker.
investigators obtained a warrant to search Stephen Duxbury's house. Inside, they found a pair of shoes that matched perfectly with the print found near Sasha's bed. They also learned that his fingerprints matched perfectly with those found on Sasha's toilet seat, and the
Yay.
DNA found on her remains was also an exact match.
You piece of shit.
A bite mark on Stephen's arm and scratches on his body suggested that somebody had recently fought back against him. Perhaps the most disturbing piece of evidence against Stephen, though, came when the police searched his phone records. Just a few short minutes before Sasha was killed, Stephen had Google searched how to override a quickset keypad lock, the exact same type of lock on Sasha's door. In the face of such a mountain of evidence, it took a jury only 4 hours of deliberation to find Stephen guilty of Sasha's murder. He was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole.
Fuck yeah. I love hearing that.
After looking at the footage, many believe that Sasha realized who Stephen really was underneath his uniform, and that she could sense the peril she was in. That she feigned forgetting her entrance code so that Stephen, who was sticking to her like glue, wouldn't be able to force himself inside her apartment. Only, in the end, he didn't let that stop him.
That was smart.
Chillingly, Sasha Samsadin's life had been taken by the very person whose job it was to keep her safe. It's people like Stephen Duxbury that really churn your stomach. The monsters hiding among us, who pounce on any twisted opportunity they can find, and force the rest of us to question the motives of those around us.
Trash. That motherfucker is trash, and I hope he is getting it in his for the rest of his fucking life. Yo, woosah, people. Woosah. Woosah. I hate hearing shit like that, though.
Even those we should be able to trust.
Bumblebee Road.
On October 17th, 2003, the lifeless bodies of two young lovers were discovered in the back of a white Ford F-150, just off Bumblebee Road, a popular camping.
Is this like some what? Is it like some kind of Lookout Point, murderer on the loose, killing lovers type shit? Lovers Lane. Oh my god, is this like a B-class scary movie? Oh fuck.
Camping spot near Black Canyon City, Arizona. Both bodies were found inside their sleeping bags, with multiple gunshot wounds to their heads. They were quickly identified as 19-year-old Lisa Guerreri and 21-year-old Brandon Rumbaugh, both of whom had been reported missing the previous day. The couple had travelled up to the remote Bumblebee Road exit off I-17 to spend their one-year anniversary together, an attempt to recreate the romantic stargazing of their first date. Sadly, it was a trip that they would never return from, and almost 2 decades later, their killer is yet to be caught.
Are you serious?
By all accounts, Lisa and Brandon were just your average young couple who lived together in Scottsdale, Arizona. Lisa was a Mesa High School graduate who worked for a local utilities company. She had dreams of becoming a wedding planner and regularly sang hymns at her local church. Brandon was a student and aspiring fitness entrepreneur who, according to friends, treated Lisa like a queen.
Good.
Many said that the pair were a perfect match, and that they were both kind, friendly, and popular. Not a single person could think of anyone who had wished them dead.
Damn.
When the couple failed to return from their romantic getaway, Lisa's mother Paula immediately reported them missing. She later said it was extremely out of character for Lisa to stay out all night. Soon after they were reported missing, friends and family of the couple began to search the area surrounding Bumblebee Road. And on Sunday afternoon, just after 3:30 p.m, their bodies were discovered in the bed of their pickup truck. It's unclear whether or not they were asleep at the time they were slain, or indeed whether they were in their bags at the time, or had been placed in them afterwards.
Oh god.
Following their arrival at the scene, local homicide detectives uncovered some deeply unsettling pieces of evidence. The first was a disposable camera found discarded just a few feet away from the couple's truck. Yavapai County Sheriff Frank Barbaro later stated that the camera appeared to have been thrown with a great deal of force possibly in an attempt to destroy it. Although, if that was the case, it was a poor attempt. Several photographs were later recovered from the camera, but only 3 of them were of any real significance.
Man.
The first showed Lisa sitting in the back of the truck, looking just off camera and smiling at the photographer. Behind her is pitch blackness. Despite her seemingly happy demeanor, Lisa's mother Paula believes that there's something off with her daughter's expression in this photo. In her words, as a mother, she can just tell that something's not right. The other photo shows Brandon in almost exactly the same position, in the bed of the same truck where he and his girlfriend would later be found lifeless. Only, unlike Lisa, Brandon isn't smiling in his photo. He remains straight-faced, with his arms folded.
Okay.
These images were almost certainly taken shortly before the couple met their grisly end.
Maybe they was doing poses.
It remains unclear.
Maybe he's trying to be that sexy GQ. Hold on.
Whether the couple took these images themselves, or whether someone else was behind the camera, posing them.
We will
Some
never
agree
know,
that
will
Lisa
we?
and Brandon appear uncomfortable, as if they were being photographed by a forceful third party, while others think that the images look completely normal, and that the couple were simply mucking around and making some memories together, oblivious to whoever lurked in the darkness surrounding them.
I'm the latter.
Others
I
still
think there's just
believe
some
it's a
fun.
mix of both.
Honestly, I think they was just really having fun. I don't think they was planning on going out there and being murdered. I think they was just being goofy, a young couple. You know how young couples do. Have you ever gone to a photo booth and stood there like... No, you do stupid, silly things. This is how it is.
That their killer was operating the lens, but that it was someone that they already knew and were comfortable around, hence their laid-back demeanors. The final image of note on the camera is unusual. It seems to have been taken through a doorway, perhaps intentionally, perhaps by accident, and shows a room with a light fixture and a plant. None of the victim's friends or family were familiar with the location shown in this photo. It's not clear whether this image was taken before or after Lisa and Brandon were slain. If before, it could suggest that someone was trying to snap a secret shot of one or both victims. If after, that would mean that the perp took the camera from the scene of the slayings, photographed another location for whatever reason, then returned to the truck again after the fact. Aside from the photos, the second thing of note was that Brandon and Lisa's video camera was missing from the scene. They had brought the recording device along with them on their trip, but despite a thorough search of the surrounding area, it was nowhere to be found. Only its protective outer casing had been left behind, discarded near the truck. The fact that the video camera was the only thing taken by the perpetrator comes with its own chilling implication. That Brandon and Lisa weren't just the unfortunate victims of a cruel killer, but that they were also forced to star in their own snuff film. Based on the shell casings found at the scene, investigators determined that the couple had been shot with a .25 caliber handgun. But aside from that,
What if that's true? What if they did? Oh, and they... Oh, I'd be pissed. If I'm gonna be murdered on video using my own fucking camera? No, fuck you, bud. That's bullshit. I ain't dealing with that.
the scene offered very little evidence at all. The investigation was also hampered by the fact that almost 100 other campers were in the area on the night of the incident. Dozens were tracked down and interviewed, but none of them were close enough to have heard any shots, and no one presented themselves as a potential suspect. In the 2 decades following Brandon and Lisa's slayings, 2 prevailing theories have emerged. The first involves the presence of a jealous person in their social circle.
Maybe.
Lisa's uncle believes that one of her closest friends, a still unnamed male, harbored deep, unrequited feelings for her. This friend appeared content to remain in the so-called friend zone, but in the run-up to the murders, a great deal of social disharmony had rippled through the group of friends, possibly stemming from these unrequited feelings.
Are you fucking serious?
It's also worth noting
Oh, I never understood that. You can't love me while you love him. I'm gonna have to kill you. Why? If you're that obsessed with him, why? Why? Shouldn't you? I mean, I get it if you can't have him. No one can. But shouldn't you just be like, I love them so much, I just want them to be happy, whether it's with me or not. Man, I don't know. Maybe I'm just a weird person. I am a glass half full type of person.
That the day before the couple lost their lives, Brandon was seen by neighbors arguing with an unidentified man outside his doorway. Many have speculated that this man may have been that very same jealous friend.
Maybe.
Lisa's uncle claims that this friend suddenly disappeared following the slayings, and when police went to question him, they found his home completely empty and chemically cleaned. Given how suspicious that looked, police later tracked the man down in order to properly question him. Sadly, this move proved fruitless. He passed a polygraph test, gave them a strong alibi, and vehemently denied any involvement in his former friend's murders. In the end, law enforcement were forced to let him go, but he remains a person of interest to this day. After all, polygraphs aren't exactly the most reliable bit of kit.
No, they are
The second of the two dominant theories comes from a cold case volunteer by the name of Deborah West. Deborah spent the past...
Cold case volunteer. What the fuck does that mean? Can you volunteer to do case? I volunteer. I fucking volunteer, bro.
20 years working on the Bumblebee case, and has come to the conclusion that Brandon and Lisa had most likely fallen victim to some kind of robbery gone wrong. Based on all the evidence, it's her view that the killer intended to steal what he thought was an empty truck, but was caught off guard by the couple's presence in the back of it. He then shot them in a moment of fright, perhaps after they woke up and saw his face. Deborah points to a very similar crime that occurred 6 months later, just a few miles away from where Brandon and Lisa were slain.
Really?
In that instance, 2 men were shot dead before their truck was stolen. The thief was later found dead himself from a self-administered gunshot. Deborah believes that Brandon and Lisa's case can still be solved with the help of DNA testing, and that securing a DNA specimen from the deceased truck thief is the key. She's also publicly professed her hope that the couple's families will one day get the answers they deserve.
Yes.
But, in all likelihood, it'll be a very long wait indeed.
That's awful.
Then again, if robbery was the slayer's motive, it seems unusual that he didn't drive off with the truck, and only took the couple's low-end video camera. As such, some people have proposed a third theory.
The truck had dead bodies in it. He was like, well, fuck.
One that's much more speculative, but also much more sinister. That Brandon and Lisa were picked to be slain at random as part of a gang initiation. That may sound like a wild hypothesis, but it certainly would.
No, it does not. Like, shit happens. I'm telling you. People's imaginations place really, like, fucked up things in their head, and they're like, yeah, I can do that. Whatever. Yeah, I got this. And they do whatever. Like,
wouldn't be the first time that such a thing has happened.
See?
To give one quick example, on April 12th, 2013, a 30-year-old man named Carlos Hernandez was exiting his home in Houston, Texas, when he was set upon by an 18-year-old woman named Estorel Simpson. Estorel walked over to Carlos and began dousing him with a highly flammable liquid. Then, before Carlos could figure out what was happening, Estorel took out a lighter and set Carlos ablaze. She ran back to a vehicle in which her 2 accomplices were waiting. They were members of a notorious street gang in the area, and this had been Estorel's initiation. As the trio fled the scene at high speed, Carlos's neighbors began to hear his blood-curdling screams.
Blood in, blood out.
They rushed out with buckets full of water, attempting...
Ain't that what's called, right? Blood in, blood out, or ain't it? I don't know. But a lot to show loyalty and for them to have something on you, yeah, you got to.
To douse the flames that
Fucked
engulfed
up.
Carlos's entire body.
Fucked up.
Sadly, their efforts were in vain. One police spokesperson later described Carlos's remains as unrecognizable. Estoril and her associates were later brought to justice after she made a frank and full confession to a friend. She told this friend how she had set Carlos alight and bragged about how she had filmed the whole thing on her phone and continued to beat him as he burned. This friend then went to the authorities and told them everything. Carlos had been chosen at random, and he's not the only innocent person to fall victim to this initiation practice. The Italian mob even have a name for it: making your bones.
Making your bones.
Perhaps just as Estoril had recorded her initiation, Brandon and Lisa's killer may have recorded theirs, either on their own phone or on the couple's video camera. That recording may then have been given to the head of their organization, a symbol of their loyalty. In conjunction with the Arizona-based crime-fighting NGO Silent Witness, the families of Lisa and Brandon have offered a $10,000 reward to anyone who helps catch their slayer. But to date, not a single person has come forward with any useful information. Perhaps Lisa's old friend really was the man responsible. Perhaps this was just a robbery gone wrong. Or perhaps the truth is out there somewhere.
It could
On an
be
old
too many
video
fucking
cassette.
things, bro. Too many.
Whatever the truth. Looking
All
at these
that.
photos now, knowing the fate that would soon befall Lisa and Brandon, is unsettling to say the least. And it makes you wonder what sinister force was lurking around them in the darkness.
Okay, when was these? Is there a way to like see if our technology now can make these pictures better? Maybe we can see something going on. Maybe reflection in his shiny eyeball or her belt buckle behind my head. Oh no, I just feel like
That fateful night.
depending on when this happened, maybe more could be figured out. Maybe some of those other pictures could be fixed. I don't know. I just like to think that, everybody should. I think everyone deserves closure. You can't ever move on until you have closure. You can say you have, but you haven't. And every family deserves to have that. Oh, all right. I really enjoyed today's story. That was actually a really, really good one. Really good one. I'm surprised. I mean, I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm just saying, I'm surprised. Just in general, I didn't. I don't know. I had mixed feelings on it. Disturbing cases with chilling evidence. I watched one of those through before, and it was alright. It wasn't chilling though. It was more like meh. This one was actually creepy. Fucking creepy. I enjoyed it. Alright, if y'all enjoyed today's video as much as I did, please leave a thumbs up. If you're a fan of the spooky, scary, strange, think about subscribing. As always, be good to one another. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye. Oh, good golly, miss my hug. Will we ever really know? Will we?